Who was the dumbest person you ever met? How did you know? Dang it, late to the party. Anyway, I was a cook a few years ago and this particular busy night we ran out of lobster mac and cheese. This one waitress could not understand how this was possible and just kept nagging and nagging in disbelief. I got annoyed to the point that I told her the reason for this was that there was a shortage of people with small enough hands to milk lobster's tiny nipples, hence a worldwide shortage of lobster milk to make that dish. I had to come clean with her when she started telling this to customers and they demanded to speak with a manager. I went to high school with this guy who probably had about 3 brain cells. He was a stereotypical redneck. Here's a list of the stupid he did that I can name off the top of my head. During a music class where we had a work period for some project, he asked the teacher if he could go make up a test he had missed earlier that week for a different class. The teacher said yes. He left the room, went into the band's instrument storage room, took a nap, then got really pissed at the teacher for not letting him make up the test. In the same music class, we had to use GarageBand to create a soundtrack for something, and there were some guidelines we had to follow. Instead of following the guidelines, this kid just filled the timeline with random loops, admitted to doing that, then tried to argue with the teacher about his grade for the project 20%. Tried to become a SoundCloud rapper. He recorded his mixtape in the school bathroom, then deleted it about 3 weeks later because everyone made fun of him for it. The only line I actually remember was from a diss track where he said, "roasted in a pan of ovens." Started fights with 4 different people and got his kicked 3 times. The one guy who didn't beat him up was 2 years younger, 6 in, 15 centimeters shorter, and probably about 80 pounds, 36 kilograms lighter. One fight was started because someone made an incest joke about him and his cousin, one was because someone made fun of him for the previously mentioned line from his mixtape, one was because someone was calling him by his rapper name, his initials, which apparently was disrespectful because the other guy didn't know his middle name, and one was because he was flirting with a girl who already had a boyfriend. Bragged about getting his very own tractor, but refused to show anyone any pictures of it. A few weeks later, someone finally convinced him to show pictures. It was a thing lawnmower. Got caught watching porn during class on his school laptop, responded by punching it and breaking the screen. Tried out for the baseball team 1 year, couldn't go back for a fly ball without falling on his missed every pitch during batting practice, and got mad at the coach for not letting him on the team. My friend wanted me to try whole wheat pasta. I explained that I'm allergic to wheat. She said to try it because it's not wheat, it's whole wheat. My former boss was worried that the island of Manhattan would sink with all the extra visitors for New Year's and the ball dropping. She thought islands float, and when she found out that wasn't true she thought it was so funny that she told everyone the story. She was later fired for withholding a pay raise from someone on her team because he didn't accept her sexual advances. He had the texts to prove it. Edit, grammar error. I remember a guy the first knew in middle school who put money into a vending machine and then his item didn't come out. Then he put more money into the machine and 2 of the item he wanted came out. He then exclaimed, "All right. 2 for 1. One time my now ex-girlfriend was watching Maury Povich, one of those paternity test episodes with the classic "You are not the father" moment, and she turns to me and says, "If we ever have a baby and I found out I'm not the mother, I'll kill you." Thankfully we didn't end up reproducing. I was working retail at the time, and this lady walks in and asks me to tell her when it is 10:15 a.m., she needs to catch a bus. We were slow so I obliged. 10:15 a.m. rolls around and I tell her so she drops her stuff and runs out to get the bus. 5 minutes later she comes back scowling. And she then lectures me on how to tell time. How much is a quarter? 25 cents. So why would you tell me 10:15 a is 10:15 a? It's 10:25 a.m. He had just purchased a new, high-powered BB gun. We had just finished shooting it in the backyard when he points the barrel at my face and pulls the trigger several times. I tell him to stop being an idiot and he just laughs and says, "It's not loaded." Then the moron puts the barrel in his mouth and shoots a BB right through his tongue and into his uvula. Edit for those asking why it shot him and not me, I was sitting down so the end of the barrel was at a downward angle. When Genius shot himself, the barrel was at an upward angle, causing the last BB to roll down to the back of the ammo tube and into the chamber. I asked a temp at work to weigh a couple of lever arch files for postage. She came back and told me they were 65 kilograms. I asked if it were possible that it was 6.5 kilograms, but she insisted it wasn't. We argued about it for a good 5 minutes. It wasn't until I asked her how much she weighed, 59 kilograms, that it finally twigged that these two small folders couldn't possibly weigh more than her. Few years ago in Australia, Coke changed their bottle to be a bit narrower and taller to sew less plastic. Both bottles were 600 milliliters. Girl in my class at uni adamant that the change wasn't to reduce plastic but so they could put less Coke in to save money. I know they are both 600 milliliters, but the new one has less Coke in it. I was taught 11th grade science by a teacher who believed tattoos were genetically inherited. I had a boss who told me that she never kept leftovers from a meal because that's how polio got started. A girl in my class in middle school genuinely thought people had landed on the sun. Her explanation for this belief was to insist that the moon and sun are made of the same stuff. A friend of mine is a sweet guy but is overweight and balding and quite frankly, not very attractive in the face. Well, one day he lets us know that he has met a girl and she might be the one. He's in his late 20s for reference. Well, I've met some of the jewels he's hooked up with in the past, so I wasn't expecting too much. Finally meet this girl and she is drop-dead gorgeous and has a body that is incredible. I talked to her for a while and she is super friendly and outgoing. I'm stoked for my boy. He found the best he's ever gonna find. Anyway, the night progresses and the new couple starts talking about their plans for an upcoming trip to New Mexico, and she starts telling us how excited she is because she has never gone to another country before. I laughed a bit and realized she was dead serious. My friend just looked at me and shook his head, and I knew that he knew. She was dumb as a s***ing rock, but she was his dumb s***ing rock. For what it's worth, he helped her get her passport. When I was in the Air Force, I was the lead trainer, certifier in my unit. When a new person would show up, I'd watch them do the job, answer any out-of-the-ordinary questions etc., and when I felt they were ready, I'd sign off saying they were qualified. This all happened after they finished a 6-week school learning the job. The 73 troops I trained took on average 3 days to complete this phase. Then there was that one guy. I took him under my wing, non-stop for an entire month. He'd mess something up one day and we'd correct it. No big deal. The next, he'd get it right, but get something else wrong. Then on the following day, mess up on the first thing we had corrected. Bear in mind that he has a step-by-step checklist in his hand that lists everything to do and in what order to do it. After a month of this, I figured there was nothing I could do for him, maybe it was my teaching method, so I handed him over to my supervisor. They spent another 3 weeks together until he was finally certified. A month and a half to learn what should have taken 3 days. Personally, I really liked the guy, had a good heart, didn't give up after the setbacks, and probably the funniest non-comedian I've ever met. He was just a bit dense when it came to the job. The job was refueling jets, which is really about 2 degrees harder than filling your car. A chimp could do it and probably learn in less time. Miss ya buddy, hope you're still doing well. Deleted. A girl in my art class in high school thought there was just a part of the cow called meat. When we explained meat as the muscles, she freaked out and became vegetarian. I worked with a woman who would be constantly on her phone, but if she set it down she'd think it would be someone else's. She legitimately spent 20 minutes looking for her phone, believing that the phone in front of her was another coworker's, then finally did it dawn on her that it was hers. Don't know how she survived 50+ years. Had a girl I worked with at McDonald's, sweet as could be but denser than the concrete the store sat on. 2 moments stand out to me. 1. She thought the Great Wall of China was in Arizona. 2. She firmly believed north was whatever direction you were looking at the moment. White girl didn't think she could get pregnant because the guy was Mexican. Swear on my life. I'm late but *car dashboard reads 40 miles to E**. My car says in 40 miles, we'll be going east. A girl in my sophomore year of high school who thought there were 6 months in a year. She was really nice, but very surprised and confused when we tried to set her right. Edit, for those asking which months she would have included in her version of a year, I don't think she thought that far ahead. Half of my science class thought that the International Space Station was just some building on the ground. My wife wanted to meet an old friend from school she hadn't seen for about 20 years. We went to dinner and he brought his wife, who he met 2 months ago, who was a male entertainer, and her 2 kids. He was white, she was black, and he spent the whole night trying to start crap with people for making racist comments about their relationship behind their back. They weren't. When we finally got into talking, he told me about 9 jump points that exist to get off the Earth. I thought to myself, oh boy, a flat earther. I've never met a real one before. But no, that's not what he was talking about. That would have been so much better than what he was talking about. He said there are 9 jump points on Earth that are essentially wormholes to other planets, and that there is one in New York City that goes to Mars, and that the American government has already colonized Mars and is hiding it from the people. And he was dead serious.